Let's see. So, before we start now, this is what Google does. I've attended multiple Google workshops, online, offline, and they always start with this. So I thought, let me try it myself and see how it translates into a university setup. So this is what they do. They ask people, they give a statement, and they ask people to raise their hands. So I'm going to do that, and let's see if it works properly. So, raise of hands if you raise of hands if you guys think that vibe coding is a crime against humanity.
No.
Okay, who here has vibe coded before? Like for a project or anything, or just for fun? Okay. Keep them raised if you think you know what you were doing with that project. Okay. You don't vibe code? You don't vibe code? Okay.
I prefer the term
Okay.
agentic development.
Okay, let me do my thing. Ew. Okay, so raise of hands if you guys think that programmers will be obsolete in the next 5 years. Okay, I don't agree. I don't agree as well. Apparently, the Google people will raise their hands.
50 years.
50 years. So, aside from this, though, they follow it up with memes so that us Gen Z can relate to it. Something like that. Vibe coding. I don't know if you guys get it. Just try and laugh if you can. But one of the things with vibe coding, right? Like as I said, most of the time, if you're just messing around, you don't really know what exactly you're building and why you're. Okay, maybe you know why, but not exactly the how. And that's what we're gonna tackle in my workshop, is to how we can, let's just say, compensate for that black box characteristic. Black box meaning it does something, you don't know what happens inside. You know, it's like a function and you don't know what's happening inside. So we're gonna try to unpack that black box and actually figure out this whole vibe coding thing. Okay, next meme. Okay, for any domain of knowledge, right? Usually there are these tryhards. You know, whether it be a game, a movie, the lore goes deep. Vibe coding, it's the same thing. As you can see a while ago, he just yapped about all these terminologies that I have no idea about. But you know, maybe you're this guy, maybe you're that guy. We'll try our best to be in the middle. I'm just gonna give you what you need to survive this whole AI engineering thingy-majig they're talking about. Alright, last meme. Vibe coding, vibe debugging. So, so the main problem for us programmers, right, is that when something breaks, when we're vibe coding, we usually just paste the error. The loop usually that I've seen in the countless videos I've seen is, you have an idea, you prompt it. Usually it's just as simple as, oh, build me this, build me that. It doesn't work or something doesn't suit your taste. You paste whatever you think is necessary to the AI and then you let it fix it. Okay, this is a problem, let's fix it. Now the trade-off of that is you're not actually debugging. You're not vibe debugging, you're vibe complaining. Yeah, you're just complaining. So again, later in the workshop we'll see as to how we can effectively be less vibes but more debug, but at the same time still be lazy and scroll through reels while our agents do our thing. So, yes, I agree. Humans will not get replaced by programmers anytime soon, so we don't have to switch our careers. This is a real thing, by the way. AI can now rent us if they want us to go do something in the physical world for them. If you guys haven't been caught up to speed with the recent OpenClaw controversy, well, not really controversy, but I don't know, guys, we're getting closer to Jarvis, so might as well just be aware as to what the heck is going on. Okay, you've probably seen one of these titles to YouTube on your homepage, right? Oh, I fell for these traps, guys. I mean, one day maybe we can build a startup, but definitely not tomorrow and definitely not next week. You know, we have these guys. You see, that's proof. That's proof. I spent my afternoons just watching through these build blah 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 exact playbook, how I coded blah blah blah. I vibe coded mobile app for this. You guys get the point, right? The truth about no code SaaS, it won't make you rich. Duh, obviously it won't make you rich. So, you know, the hypocrisy when it comes to these types of things, right, is that these SaaS solopreneurs, these solo devs that built $10 million seed funded companies in the span of a month, they're just trying to sell you a course, guys. Like, look at the hypocrisy and the irony here. It says it won't make you rich, and then the description says, got my $1 million app idea, we can help you design. See, that's the issue right now. There's this very weird misconception when it regards to vibe coding, building stuff, and just software development in general. But what I'm going to show you in the next few slides is what actually happens behind the scenes as to what it means to be a truly effective AI developer or context engineer, AI engineer. But at the end of the day, they all mean the same thing, guys. You know how to use the future properly. The same thing with how they thought phones would replace paper, or how cars will replace horses, or how photography will replace painting. That's not the case, diba? So as humans, you still have a place in this programming and development society. And, you know, I'm gonna help you guys be part of that society. And I've seen videos that actually show the truth behind these. So most of the things that I'll be talking about is from these two right here. I'm gonna send their YouTube channels. These is what actually happens, right? Like, this guy didn't get rich in a week. He's been working on an app for 6 months, and I've been following him closely. And he just got hacked like last week, I guess, because he just vibe coded it. So that's the reality, guys. These people risk it all, basically. But that's the future. You really have to risk things. So here's what I want to bring home down in this workshop. This is literally the exact thing. If this was a video, you can literally click off, but this is what I'm trying to deliver here. Vibe coding involves more thinking and less vibes than people make it out to be. And I'll show you later. But this will be the last instance, hopefully, that I'll use the word vibe and coding. From now on, I'll be using vibe engineering. Because again, it will require an engineering type of mind. As you can see a while ago, how Jay wrote the hierarchy or this graph of how companies work, diba? And in a sense, you have to gain those skills. Especially for us computer science students, where we have a shaky career because of this AI stuff. What I've asked a few people in the industry, and they all more or less agree, is that when it comes to junior level engineers, the entry level skills isn't all about syntactic fluency. It's not about memorizing anymore. A lot of it is mostly project management na, software development patterns, and how familiar you are with what you're working with. And at the end of the day, thinking. You have to think. That's why it's called engineering. Just like how we need civil engineers on site to manage the people who are actually making the thing. That's the same analogy as Jay used, and I think that just flows better in my head. So, yeah. So, before we start, or like formally begin, not like I didn't yet, I'm gonna just unpack a few buzzwords that Jay used a while ago, because a lot of them go all over the place. So, yeah. MCP. Has anybody heard of MCP? Or at least like saw it in a YouTube homepage? Wala. Minecraft player. So, you know, we have MCP. So, essentially, MCP just means Model Context Protocol. You'll hear it a lot when people try to sell you courses online. But it's just a very fancy way of saying it's an API. If you guys are from these days, it's basically a USB port for LLMs. This is what they usually refer to. But it's just extensions. I think of it as extensions. You're giving your agent capabilities. It doesn't come out of the box. Hopefully that made sense, because that was a tongue twister. So if you want to make your agents far more powerful, I recommend getting. There's so many out there, guys. Legit. There's this website. You can view this right now. There's over like 300k MCP servers out there. But honestly, the top two that I usually use is sequential thinking. Sequential thinking because it makes your agent think better, more or less. Sequential thinking MCP. And next is Context 7. Context 7 MCP for documentation. I'll cover as to why that's important later. But yeah, you can like browse whatever you need. This is also works for integration. Let's say you have Google Sheets, Google Docs, and you want to integrate it with your agent somehow, you want to connect, then MCP, that's your answer. Next, okay, this is the real buzzword wall. System prompt and global instructions. This is the constitution of your AI agent. So, constitution essentially means it's the first thing it reads before every prompt you make. So, let's say Jay's request a while ago with regards to law. The intent MD file gets prepended for every prompt. So, you don't have to type it every time. We're a default prompt siya. So, you don't have to type it every time. So, if you want your agent to how do I not embarrass myself here? If you want your agent to mimic a certain real life character, or I don't know, fictional character, then this is your go-to, so you don't have to remind them that they should act like X or Y. So, this is mine. I'm not gonna go over my workflow in depth, but the one thing that I want my agent to know, regardless of whichever mode they are, whichever IDE, is that he or she or it is the engine and not the driver. That's one thing I want to drive home in every prompt, that it shouldn't take over what I'm doing. So it depends on you what you're exactly doing, but again, global system prompts or system instructions, they all mean the same. On your IDE, if Antigravity inyo gonna use, it's called Gemini.md file. If Claude, it's Claude.md, and if Cursor, it's Cursor rules. I haven't explored Cursor, but yeah, it depends on the IDE. Next, skills. So skills, they're just like MCP, but you don't have to install anything. It's basically a markdown file that explains how an agent should act given a certain task. It's like you're giving the agent a manual. One good example would be, this is outside coding. Sometimes I want an agent to watch a video, but it can't. It's stupid for some reason. So I gave out a manual as to how it can do that. So let's say it opens the link using its browser, and then it just grabs a transcript instead of actually watching it. Because again, LLMs are kind of stupid. They're far more stupid than we make them out to be. And again, the rabbit goes deep. There's like 283k skills you can choose from if you want to go window shopping. The ones that I find most useful is, aside from analyzing videos, there's also front-end skills, back-end skills. You can also brief it on best practices for system architecture, cybersecurity. So if you have an agent that specializes in something, these skills will help. Because sometimes, like for example, ganiha, you want an agent that specializes in law and you don't know enough about law, these skills will cover for you. Yeah. Next, workflows and /commands. These are prompts in one word, and I think it's better to just demonstrate this. So here, this is VS Code. So if you type here /, these aren't workflows, but these are workflows. So basically, these are just prompts that I use all the time, and I decided to just wrap it all in one word. So like, let's say, I said a while ago, diba, skills, analyzing videos. So I don't have to explain every time na, okay, Gemini, GPT, use this skill so that you can actually know how to watch a video. So I just say, analyze videos and attach the link. So mura gina shorten mo ang imo, you're saving time basically, because it's a whole markdown file in one word. I'll cover the most essential ones later, but I have a lot here. Again, this is overkill. But one of the most important ones is definitely plan /plan. We'll take note of that. We'll put a pin on that. Next. Oops. Personas. So we have, it depends on you, right? What type of personas your agent might have. You saw my global instructions a while ago, diba? I purposefully and emphasize that it shouldn't be the driver. It should be the engine. It's as if you have a junior dev, right? If you're hiring a junior dev, you won't exactly expect it to do everything. So one of the best practices I've learned is that for every agent you have, it should only do one thing. It's not a good practice to have an agent that does many things, especially if you're in IDE. Oh, by the way, guys, I suggest you take notes because I'm kind of going fast. I'll just breeze through this. So, yeah, personas, planner, decider, debugger. I also invoke these or call these using my /. So let's say ganyan, /plan. I call the planner mode. /design. I call the design mode. /debug. I call the debug mode. So basically, it's just a bunch of markdowns compressed into this easy to call word. Okay, this was covered by Jay a while ago, but I'm going to talk about it in the context of documentation. Especially in coding now, when you're, let's say, breezing through hackathons and you don't really have the time to do research and all that. Instead of asking it to just implement something directly, it's best to take 5 minutes of your time to just go through the documentation website of whichever tech stack you're using. Next.js, Python, FastAPI, anything. Just grab the link and then provide it to the agent, because it has a better time implementing the code because it knows how the code is supposed to be written as described by the developers. Diba? Because that's what we humans do, man. We refer to the documentation. And here's a quick tip. It's best na when you're trying to retrieve a website, you prepend these in the URL. Instead of just pasting the Git repo, you put Git ingest instead, so that the agent will have an easier time retrieving the documentation. Same with websites. In documentation websites, they usually provide sitemaps now. Almost all of the documentation websites have sitemaps. And we also have LLMs.txt. Again, it just gives the LLMs better time reading through the entire thing without wasting tokens. Of course, you have HTML, which is just better to read for humans. And then for web scrapers, usually websites have robots.txt files. I haven't dived deep into web scraping, so you can say much about that. And lastly, if you just have a general website, like let's say Wikipedia, you can just try r.genie.ai / and then the link. And this works for a majority of websites. Definitely Wikipedia, some Medium articles, even Datacam articles. So again, if you want your agent to be knowledgeable about whatever you're implementing, line by line, syntax by syntax, then use these. You don't ask it, okay, using Next.js. No. Provide the document. Context is everything. Provide how it's supposed to do things. Next. This came up a while ago. So, token and context window. Tokens is just, in simple terms, it's your currency for agents, especially for broke people like me. We're capped, right? I am unemployed, so I have to be very wary about my token usage. And these tokens are stored in what we call a context window. So a while ago, as Jay said, the longer the conversation gets, the dumber your LLM becomes, because it's trying to remember everything from the very first thing you try to instruct it, diba? And those things, those conversations, every word, every reasoning, every time it tried to think, it's using these things called tokens. And these things are usually measured in terms of dollars, right? So the more you burn through tokens, the more you burn through money, and the more you burn through money, the more you're being inefficient. So I read from an article that one of the companies, I'm not just gonna mention it, they have these leaderboards now for their employees. Whoever burns the most tokens gets lower salary. So they get paid less. So yeah, tokens are everything. Take note of that. Okay, so this is how you keep track. This is in VS Code. As you can see, I don't know why Jay gave a very huge number. I think that's for Claude, but for my Copilot, for every conversation window, I only get 128K. So this is just for onboarding. This is just for onboarding my agent for what it's supposed to do. So 46K already, just by trying to onboard the agent. So in VS Code, I'm not sure if I can show it right now, but when you're trying to implement something, there's usually this yellow circle thingy. You just hover over it, and then it will show you the remaining tokens you have. And for Antigravity, because you know we have to pay homage to Google. Let's try to zoom in. So File, you can go to Preferences, Antigravity Settings, then yeah, Models. I don't know if you can see. So this is how you keep track. If these become full, you're not able to use your agent. But when in Antigravity, no, because if you're a student, and you saw the post katong Google AI Pro plan for students for free back in December, it's very generous. The refresh for this one, it refreshes every few days or so. Sometimes every few hours. Mine refreshes in 4 hours. And for Copilot, it refreshes every month. So for coding task, I use VS Code for implementation, but for ingesting, for onboarding, I use Antigravity. So all my markdowns get written in Antigravity because of how generous the tokens are being provided. So take note of that. For Claude Code, again, I don't use Claude Code, so just take that with a pinch of salt if you're a Claude Code user. Next! Okay, you've seen this a while ago. It's self-explanatory. Maybe you can insert scrolling through TikTok or Reels there, and then you just, but that's the reason why I put quotes here, right? Is because it's actually far more complex than people ought it out to be. And I don't want to bore you guys with some technical stuff, but all of this just boils down to this. You use the right code, now you orchestrate it. Jay kept using that word a while ago about orchestration, but what exactly is orchestration? Okay. So this is orchestration. Arrange or direct the elements. You're a manager, basically. You manage stuff, you manage your agents. You're a civil engineer. You work on site looking into whether or not your workers are actually building the building up to standard, right? So that's what orchestrating means. That's why I said a while ago that for junior level engineers, project management is an entry-level skill. To some extent, for all junior level engineers going into the industry in the next few years, you have to have an idea as to what it feels like to be a senior. You're a senior to your agents. And these agents are not slaves, guys. They're not slaves. So I'll show best practices a while ago as to how we can treat your agents with care. I can see some smiles there. So yeah, but an underlying principle is that in vibe coding, you optimize the prompt. But in agentic engineering, vibe engineering, context engineering, you optimize the approach and the architecture. And for brevity, in this specific workshop, I'll be tackling this lang. I'll be tackling this in a separate workshop somewhere around March. So if you're really nerding out about that, then architecture. This one covers more towards the software engineering side. This one is more of just best practices and will most likely just be good for your usual developer. So I don't know why that's moving, but that's a GIF, just imagine. Agent management is just like any other management, and as with every management, what the heck? Okay. You have jargon words. So these things, you usually see them in subjects such as system design, design project, and all that. So if you think that vibe coding is just all vibes and you just say, just do this, do that, no. These terms, they come up all the time. Like the best prompt engineers, quote unquote, the best context architects, they use these words all the time. Like user stories, so that your agent knows what it feels like to be a user, and so on and so forth. Okay. Okay, now just bring out your phones, take a picture of this if you want, if you're really nerding out. But this is the architecture part of what I said a while ago. So just like with how in programming we have different coding paradigms, we have functional programming, we have OOP, and all that. Agentic engineering has evolved in the same way in the past 3 years. Different approaches given your context, right? Again, we have vibe coding. Apparently, it already existed way before agents existed, and it's called cowboy coding. Just search it up. It's kind of cool. And yeah, spec-driven development. We have test-driven development. We have README-driven discovery, which was from the GitHub guy like 10 years ago. And we have autonomous coding agents. So again, take a picture if you're interested in to look into that. But to save time and not to bore you guys, then yeah, that's the different coding approaches when you're using agents nowadays. The rabbit hole goes deep, guys. Trust. Okay, so I'm not gonna go over this now. But yeah, this is I think I should mention this. This is the future actually. This is the threat that software engineers are afraid of, which is autonomous coding agents, which is this one. So all these actually involve a lot of human in the loop. This one is the future, quote unquote, where you just tell it what to do, then you go get lunch and it's done. And you can actually hire one if you want. This one is from Princeton University. It's open source. This one is Devin based on The Simpsons. I'm not quite sure. I haven't watched The Simpsons, so yeah. But this is the one that shook the programming world, because apparently you can now just give a project to an agent and now it replaces your junior dev. So yeah, this is one example of the different coding paradigms that are being used nowadays. So again, if you're interested in that, then just wait for my other workshop, because now we're gonna cover the actual spicy stuff, the TLDR of all those building a SaaS in 30 days videos lang. It's a lot, so let me drink water. I'll let you guys breathe. Just this quick disclaimer is that I'll be breezing through this. I recommend you guys get your phones to just like take notes or like a pen and paper. There's a lot of these I learned over the span of a few months. I explored, I pummeled through all kinds of GitHub repositories, Reddit threads. Yeah, it just goes deep, guys. So, yes?
Go to the next page. No, you go to the next page.
Ay, sige. The 80-20 of agentic coding. Before you type a single prompt, you have to write a PRD first. So can anybody tell me what a PRD is? Guys, this is IM. This is information management. None? I can give pins. Wala. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's either product requirements definition or project requirements definition. They use it interchangeably. So I suggest you do this without an LLM. You brain dump what you want. What does it do? What doesn't it do? Who uses it? And what are the 3 core features? As much as possible, you yourself, this idea is from you, and you just have to spread it all out on a piece of paper. There are different tools for this, I believe, but essentially the point I'm trying to make is you should just plan. Plan independently. Just reserve like 5, 10, 15, even 30 minutes, half an hour, just to have an idea as to how exactly you picture your product or your prototype would be like. You should also consider your context, right? Like, is this for a hackathon? Is this for your $1 million SaaS that you'll release next week? Is it your startup idea? Is it your web dev project? Is it your IM project? So you have to really consider your consequences and your situation, because as much as possible, we do not delegate the thinking to the agent. That's why this is very important. Come on, guys, it's just 5 to 10 bullet points. It shouldn't take that long. So once you have that, we now cover the laws or principles of agentic development. So number 1, garbage in, garbage out. The agent is only as good as your input. Self-explanatory. This is the part where being able to speak good English will help you a lot. As much as I'd like to try Bisaya or kahit pa nga Tagalog, kahit gustong-gusto ko mag-Tagalog, hindi niya ako maintindihan, tina-translate lang niya. So yeah, this is how I practice my English. Because I kept talking to my agent. I'll cover that later. So, this is a good example, good prompt versus bad prompt. Build me a login form. So, can you guys guess what the good prompt version will be like? Probably not. I'm not gonna zoom in on that, guys. So, it's not a hard, rigid rule, but the longer the prompt, the better. But not in a sense that it's nonsense in terms of length, but for every word you say, it actually gives an agent a better idea of what you're trying to do, what you're trying to build, and what you don't want to do. Because as another jargon here, another word, hallucination, if you guys remember from what Jay said, hallucination. If your AI is confused and you cannot explain yourself well, it's just gonna guess. Because it's a people pleaser. LLMs are people pleasers. Yeah, they will try to cover up their mistakes. They'll try to pretend that they know what they're doing, even though you yourself did not provide anything. It will try to cover up your plot holes. That's why having a plan before all this is very nice, because it can like cross-reference. Okay, so I'll give out pins for whoever wants to volunteer here. Add a search feature. How would you make a good prompt version of this? Come on, I'll give a pin, guys. I mean, you don't have to lay it all out, right? You don't have to say the entire thing, but what would you include, and what would you include? Like, what would you include in the prompt? Add the components. That's one. Sige. Yeah. Okay, that's good enough here. Take a pin. Sige lang. Yeah. I'm just giving away pins. Legit. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Yeah, Ivan? Autofill in. Anything to add to that? How about don't? Yeah. Add a search feature. Make sure you don't. Okay. So yeah, let's give you a pin. Because I'm feeling generous today. Plus, I have to make up for my karma so that my ankle sprain can heal faster. Okay. I don't think I put an example here, but yeah, what you want and what you don't want. That's just a good rule of thumb. You don't have to overthink it, but usually that works 80% of the time. Next, again, you're the developer, not the typist. Stay in the driver's seat. Do not delegate thinking whatsoever. If it ever goes off the rails, just like a senior engineer is responsible for their juniors, if they mess up, you mess up. It's your responsibility, it's your accountability. So if you end up burning through your tokens because you're lazy and you want to scroll through TikTok, that's on you. So one of the ways we can ensure that you are on the driver's seat is that when you're prompting, most agents nowadays, Claude, Gemini, they have these things, katong working, preparing, considering, there's also reasoning, there's thinking, there's deciding. And what you can do is if you click on it, it will show you its thought process. Pwede mo siya ma-expand. So if you, at some point, when you're looking at through like what it's doing, you can actually like just scroll up and you'll see how it thought, like how it approached the problem. And you can know just from experience in the situation now, oh my gosh, this guy is approaching this wrong. Like he's going off the rails. Let's say you forgot to attach the document. Let's say you forgot to attach the file you were referring to, and it scans the entire thing. You're just burning tokens. So at that point, it cancels siya halfway. You can just like cancel the prompt, the request. Okay, architecture over artifacts. The design is expensive. The code is cheap. TLDR. if you if you don't know what you're building, then your agent won't know what you're building. Simple as that, right? If you don't know what you're building, your agent won't know either. One prompt, one concern. Oh, this is very good. Like I said a while ago, for every conversation, only one request. When you want to fix a bug, make a new conversation. When you want to add a new feature, new conversation. Yeah, atomic anything. So for project workflows, for Antigravity, you just start a new conversation up there. For VS Code, there's one here. So as you can see, for deployment, I have one. For improving specific components, I have one. For front-end and back-end integration, I have one. So you never talk about two things at the same time in one conversation. The only exception is if you try to implement something and it breaks, you can debug in the same conversation. Because now, if you start a new conversation, i-index na tanan ang entire code base. It's gonna read through the entire file. And again, the importance of saving tokens because we're broke. Right, guys? Next, the productivity illusion. And I've fallen for this many times. 10 times speed, 10 times technical depth. So, in simple terms, if you try to run too many conversations at the same time, and yes, you can do that. Like for example, I said a while ago, like deriba. I can make a prompt here. I can prompt here, and it does its thing. And then I can switch here. I can switch to another conversation, request another thing, and it'll work in parallel, so at the same time. But that breaks our second rule. Remember, stay in the driver's seat. You cannot monitor the thought processes of both agents at the same time. So that's on you. That's your decision. But the only exception to this is, for example, I'm doing background research. Like let's say retrieving documentation that's relevant to my code base. I can just let it run in the background, and then I can fix whatever bug and continue implementing whatever feature I was on. And for example, other things include filling out test cases, filling out, if for example you have a front end and you want to fill it with lorem ipsums, yeah, that's safe. You can just say, okay, fill out these text boxes with fillers. And then you can just switch to another conversation and spin up another conversation. That's okay. Next, all of these, again, is just building up to this main idea of conserving as much tokens as possible. That's like the new currency now. The more tokens you save, the better you are usually as an agentic developer. So, jargon that they use here nowadays, especially in those Reddit threads, token hygiene and token sanitization, which is just a fancy way of saying just save your tokens, guys. Your agent's memory is finite. You treat it like a resource. It actually forgets. It just hallucinates when you get, yeah. So, IDE agents are like genies. This is not the best example, but it's a good one. It won't win me arguments, but you have limited wishes, right? And then at some point, the more wishes you make, and the more ambiguous, the more ambitious, the less specific you are when it comes to the wish, the more that agent, that genie, can spin things up in its own interpretation. You probably heard of that. Like, if you have your third last wish, what would you wish it for? Would you wish for 3 more wishes? Does that work? Is that allowed? So technically, it's almost the same as this. If you already know what you want from the get-go before you even start typing, then you won't have to worry about whether wanting for more wishes is valid. Okay? Again, these agents can get very finicky. They can twist your words if you don't really know what you want. Alright. Okay. The ones I discussed a while ago, they're more of like guidelines and principles. These are just very on the, I guess, impromptu, on the spot. I'm not quite sure what you call it, but just the little things. The little things composed of the big things. And these aren't just for coding. These are also for just general AI stuff that you work with, whether it be for reviewing or for writing essays. Some of them apply to others, some don't. Just, again, take note of what you think will help you. So these tips I curated from all these wonderful people. We have YC Startup School. This is the best one I've watched. If you guys are into startups and wanting to launch your own company in the future, I highly recommend subscribing to them. So when these are like the only people I trust when they say they made a SaaS and made millions of dollars, because these are like seed funded. They actually vibe code their projects and they actually end up making money. So this is trusted. So we have our boy Primajan here, and yeah, just a bunch of videos. We have that guy. We also have, I've also spent like countless hours listening to Anthropic podcasts, because why not? And yeah, AI Engineer as well. They're a good YouTube channel for best practices. And that guy, Programming Law. Okay, first things first. Let me drink water. because we're gonna speed through this. Okay pa mo guys? Still catching up? It's jam-packed with info. But, yeah. I wish I knew this back then, so I'm just saving you guys the, like, help a bro out. So, before you start building, these are the things you should remember, or like just life hacks. I'm not sure. We already discussed this. Write a mini PRD. 5 bullet points would be enough. Just know what you're building. Plan outside the IDE. Whiteboard, notes app, anything. Just when it comes to planning, as much as possible, you don't use the agent. The agent, when planning, is often used to just cover for things you overlooked. Like let's say you don't know a specific programming language or a specific framework. That's where it comes in. So basically, it just fills in the plot holes in the narrative you spun up in your brain. But at the end of the day, the core concept, the core theme, it's still up to you. And one of the good tools I found is this one, leaper.com. So this is a, what would you call this? I'm not quite sure. It's very similar to ERDs, but not quite. So essentially, for example, you have an app and it does lots of things. Like let's say an inventory management system. So you can map out the processes, the functions, right here, right now. You don't have to specifically explain. So it's more of a visual reference that's easier to work with. And then, for example, you've made this na, diba? Then let's say you also have ERDs, you also have data flow diagrams. You take all that, and when you onboard your agent, when you explain what you're trying to make, you include all these na. And this specific one, leapto.com, it formats it in a way such that the agent will have a better time. Murag same siya sa ganihan na GitHub repos are better if they're Git ingest instead, and better if it's in Markdown, better if it's in sitemap. So yeah, agents don't really have a good time reading through websites. And although yes, you can attach images to Antigravity, we can demonstrate that actually. Like let's say, take a screenshot. You can just take a screenshot, and for VS Code, you can just like Control V, and as you can see, you paste an image. And for same thing with Antigravity, mo touch lang siya. So that gives it further context. But again, that burns up tokens, right? Because they have to like actually figure out what they're looking at. So you have tools like these, such as Sleeper.com, that converts your image-guided, visualized plan into something that the agents can easily digest. Okay, next, your first problem sets the architecture. So let's say you do have a plan now, you know the abstract description of as to what your product or project looks like. You then start to go a little lower level. So you try to plan out the folder architecture. Not necessarily the files it contains, but what it looks like. And this is where experience will really come into play. So if you've been coding way before the pre-LLM era, then that experience will definitely come into play because you'll know how to structure your projects properly. Not in terms of approach, but again, in terms of architecture. But that's outside the scope of this talk. So just arrange your folders, name them properly, your variables, your functions. From the get-go, you should know what are like the key essentials as to what is like the core functionality. Man, this is so redundant. Anyways, choose a well-established tech stack. This is very nice. This saves me so much time. The more training data exists for that specific tech stack you're using, the better the agent will be at implementing. So when you're using a very niche programming language, it's gonna suffer because it doesn't have anything to base off of. Kaya kating mga agents natin sa IDEs, regardless of Claude or Gemini, ang training data niya is usually the Stack Overflow, mga threads, Reddit threads, sometimes even Twitter. So if you're using a newer programming language, it doesn't have much to build off of. So if you can use Next.js or React, okay na. That's why Gemini, Google AI Pro Studio uses Gemini React by default, because it's the most documented, the best documented framework out there. And yeah, I already mentioned this, you just don't drop the link, you give them the XML version, katong Git ingest. Next, for skip features, sandbox them first. So let's say you wanted to implement blockchain or something. I don't know anything about blockchain. But like, if you want to integrate something you haven't really tried out before, then you can treat it as a mini project. That's like a precursor to your main project. So mid-implementation, for example, you're halfway through the project and you have this like, oh, LLMs will like just solve it for me. Like, we can figure it out. And then you realize halfway through that, oh yeah, there's not enough docs. I don't know enough of this. I just it just doesn't work well with what I'm trying to build. So just like in programming best principles, you know, it's modularization, right? You isolate as much as you can. So when you have risky features you want to integrate or something you're not familiar with, start with a mini project. Next, during the build, one prompt, one concern. I already covered this. Use voice. Oh my gosh, you think faster than you type. This is how I ramble. The amount of times my blockmates would look at me because I'm talking to myself when coding, shut up, Dustin. And good thing I'm alone in my dorm, but like, quick tip, if you're on Windows, what you can do is Windows H, and that should open up this mic thingy. It's not as good. Let me try it. Yeah, it's pretty slow. It doesn't have punctuation marks. However, in Google Antigravity, has this one, but it records it as a MP3 file, and then it's on the server, and then it transcribes it. But the problem is you have no idea if it's actually listening to it properly. And VS Code, you also have this thing. As you can see, it takes a while to spin up, but does it get the job done? Oh my goodness, it's so bad. Oh, it does the punctuation marks. So yeah, this is good enough, but the agent is smart enough naman to fill in potential punctuation corrections and grammar and all that. And what I use nowadays is wait lang. Where it is. What I use is this app called Whisper Flow. You've probably seen some ads using it. So, wait lang. Oops. It's this one. This is the best text-to-speech one that I have come across. It's built on OpenAI's text translation, speech-to-text translation. So this is what I use. So, as you can see, it can cover a lot. Like, it covers punctuation marks, it covers numbering, so, even, like, percentages. And Antigravity and VS Code does not cover that, but again, for most use cases, this will work well, or this will be good enough, rather. Next, keep services minimal. As I said a while ago, software engineering principles still apply, even in agentic engineering. So again, I'll be giving out pins for those who can give me the abbreviations, the meaning of these abbreviations. These are very well used. Okay, Nick. Yagni. Yagni is who? DRY. Okay, don't repeat yourself. Next, Yagni. Who knows Yagni? I mean, you're GDG. Oh, but might as well. Who knows Yagni, guys? How about Kiss? There's more. I just included like the most essential. But again, guys, so this is one thing that I would like you to take home. Ate?
I know Kiss. Keep it safe and sound.
Keep it safe. Not close. It's close. It's close.
Keep it simple.
Nice. Nice. Next, Yagni. Who knows Yagni?
Really try.
Yagni.
You're not gonna need it.
Sakto. You aren't gonna need it. So, again, keep it minimal. I wouldn't necessarily say bare minimum, no? But as with every type of engineering, you can over-engineer agentic workflows. I'm not exempt from that because I'm also down the rabbit hole. But, again, remember, if you aren't gonna need it, then you probably won't need it. Keep dry. Do not repeat yourself. When you see your agent repeating functions, calling the same thing over and over again, come on guys, we're comp sci, we're IT, we should know this already. And Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. Sometimes the most straightforward answer is the best answer. Next, ask for a markdown summary at the end of every implementation loop. So let's say you successfully implemented a feature, and just like in real life, pre-LLM, you would write down a git commit message. This is something similar to that, but for agents. So you ask to summarize what it did, why it did things, and I think I put it here. Yeah, what it did, why it did things the way it is, and things that the next agent should know when it's trying to build off of that feature. Like, okay, diba? When it comes to features, usually it just stacks up over and over naman, diba? So, this aligns with our principles ganiya na we save tokens. Okay, if we don't provide this summary, the next agent who will be working on that feature will have to figure out, it has to think as to what exactly we're working with. Like, what is this? Like, what is this feature? So, when you have a markdown that explains all that from the get-go, then you save so much tokens. Okay, already know this. Context window, it's a pie thingy, circle thingy. When you see it filling up, that's the best time to use it in combination with this. So let's say napuno na and you're not done with the feature. You ask it to make a markdown summary, and then you attach that markdown to the next agent. I'm gonna demo that real quick. So here in VS Code, you do control. Wait, what's that? Hashtag. Oh, what the fudge? Nope. What is this? I don't know what that is, but in VS Code, it's control hashtag, but lang guys, oh, it's shift. My gosh, it's shift. It's shift. Oh my gosh, it's shift hashtag. It's shift hashtag, and you can attach markdowns here. Like, let's say, what do I have here? Environment. See, here's how you attach hashtag and then the thing. And then when you're trying to fix a bug, again, as I mentioned, it's best to attach the file in which the bug is found. So let's say, you know, in VS Code, right, you can see those squiggly things, katong red, like it will literally point it out to you that there's something wrong with this file. And you already know that it's that file, so why would you leave it up to the agent to figure out where the error is if you can already see it, right? So just attach it. You can even drag if you want, like this, or sometimes it even appears here. And then for anti-gravity, it's at, and then the file. Nah, like that, you attach the markdown. Nice. Okay, continue. Oh my gosh, there's a lot. Okay, next. Jay briefly already mentioned this a while ago, but when use cheaper models for research, so best practice is for Gemini is best for writing, Claude is best for coding, GPT is best for debugging. That's my personal opinion. But more or less, that kind of captures what most people think of. So, save your best model for implementation. So, ganyan ang Opus is the most expensive. Okay, if we see here sa Antigravity, right? Ay, sa Antigravity. Sa VS Code, if I just do this, as you can see here. So, Opus is the most powerful. This is like when I'm desperate, like when I'm really desperate. And it uses 3 times your tokens. So your token times 3. So mahurot mo, and then you can check how much you have left here. Here, oh. Tana, I have like, it's almost the end of the month and I only use 85% and I've already completed like 3 personal projects. And yeah, Gemini for writing. And when I want to onboard, like let's say I just want an agent to know what the heck this project is all about, I just use a lesser model, such as Haiku. Like, their Haiku is very good, guys. It's so generous. And then, if implementing, I use Claude Sonnet, these two, sometimes this. And, yeah. Just don't use Grok. Guys, just don't use Grok, please. No more explanation, just don't use Grok. Next, run terminals outside IDE. It is very specific, but sometimes when you want to see console logs or debug something using your PowerShell terminal, sometimes the agent runs it here. Wait, it runs it here in its own, in the IDE itself. So what I do is I have a separate PowerShell script that runs it outside. Okay, that's nerd speak already, so I don't want to cover it. I don't want to go deep into that. Okay, when things break, this is where you'll probably, this is what I wished I had back then. Okay, I saw this a while ago kay Jane Apart. I saw it in system prompt sa GitHub na he has a line there na if you fail twice, it's bad. Like I can't recall the exact wording he used, but in my global system prompt, I have this rule now called 3-strike rule. When the agent tries to fix something 3 times and it still fails, he's gonna get nuked. It's a threat. So here's an interesting study. You can go research it on your own. Apparently, if you empathize with your agents, like let's say, when you say your agent, okay, I have a bug. What I'd like you to do is take a deep breath and take your time and find out what's causing this problem. And apparently, it helps a lot. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but something to look into. Here's red flag if your agent is performing bad. If it starts saying this, ChatGPT as well.
Does that count with relationships as well?
Maybe. Git reset, same thing. When you're trying to implement something new, I can show this real quick. There's these things, VS Code, where you can roll back to a previous restore checkpoint. So let's say when it breaks something and you feel like the thing that broke is so bad, it's like beyond help, just go back. Just go back. There's nothing, you won't lose anything. Next, odd logging. Same thing with how human programmers would deal with it. Switch models and stock, same thing as I explained a while ago. When Opus fails, which probably won't happen, try GPT. GPT Codex is also very good at debugging. And same thing, this is just a repetition. When you have summaries, the agent works best when it already knows what it's dealing with. Okay, so yeah, these just work in like parallel. This is for this, so that when you roll back, when you restart your checkpoint, it didn't know what the agent before it did, so it's best to just let it know where it left off of or something. Okay, just take a picture of this. Let's make it quick. Yeah, mahuma ka na. Yeah. You want sige. Yeah, so my talk is done, guys. Actually, this is the last slide, I think. I think this is what GN will cover na lang, so I'll just leave it off to him. Yeah. Would you like to, build upon this? Kaya naman, 4:30 pa ta. Huh? 4:30 pa ta. Oh. You want to... Or you want to... Let's take it. Okay, so guys, I'll just make this quick. But Gian will elaborate on what I mean by this, and this is what this is like the restatement of the thesis I said a while ago, that at the end of the day, you can't really pawn off your thinking or delegate your thinking to the agent, because as Jay said, it's a multiplier. It's like money, it's like wealth, it's like riches. If you're unhappy with a cup of coffee, you'll be unhappy with a yacht, right? If you're stupid before agents, you'll be stupid after agents. Same thing, I think, hopefully. So, the best token saving strat is experience. So what I do is to just demonstrate this quickly. This is a workflow. I do /learn. I have this thing called /learn. So when an agent does something that I don't understand or haven't seen before, I have this /learn. So it essentially tries to explain something in a manner in which I can understand. Okay, it's a deep rabbit hole, but I have a markdown that explains how I like things to be explained, like what types of analogies. So that's something to explore on your own lang. It's exciting, guys. I highly suggest you to, So yeah, so for every project, it's not just you're building a project, you're also building your own knowledge base. Okay, if you think about it, for the boss I said a while ago, the agent will cover for your loops in your thinking or in your plan. But the next time around, because you learned it through the agent what to do, like why did this break, what's the best practice. Next time, if you encounter it in another project or in a similar project, you won't hand it off to the agent because I've seen this before. Right? Like, one example is when Gian right there, shout out Gian, who critiqued my project on tier maker. And I accidentally, not really accidentally, I agreed to an agent in which it suggested to use a database. Because I just said, okay, it's an agent, it's not to use a database. But then when Gian looked over it, it said that it's unnecessary. You can just use in-memory caching. And I did ask the agent, yes, indeed, using a database for this project is unnecessary. So Gian's experience in intuition came into play. So instead of me asking the agent why it's unnecessary, he was able to explain it in his own words, and they said the exact same thing in memory. I won't forget that. So yeah, a lot of that will come up. So for every project, ensure that you learn something new. Not the syntax, but the principle. Why something breaks, why something didn't work, right? So, yeah, the more bugs you see and explain, the more precisely you can describe the next one, and the less you'll rely on your workflows, your slash commands. Because now you don't have to rely on, letting the agent index your entire code base to pinpoint the problem, because you know yourself from experience and intuition that, because of this and that, I know it's around this area of the code, or something similar. Why is this here? Yeah, so we're more or less done. I'm open to questions. So, yeah guys, that's my talk. I know it's a lot, so hopefully you took notes, took pictures. And I'm now open to questions.
Can you show your markdown files for your project?
For?
Project, but yeah, workflow and your markdown.
For a project or my workflows lang? So, okay, for my workflows, here is it. I'm not sure if you can see it clearly. So, I don't want to nerd out here, but as I said a while ago, there are multiple agentic paradigms. You can just search up a GitHub repo. But mine, if you're curious, aside from the fact that I'll post my GitHub later, mine is based on Athena OS, which is, again, it's something I just cloned the repository and then built it off of to suit my workflows. And first and foremost, we have my workflows, right? Ingest, learn. So if you have a question with that, I don't want to go through every markdown. So yeah, we have I guess if I were to give a top 3, no, the ones I use most is learn, onboard, then plan. Then everything else is just compressing everything into one word. And then next I have skills. I have so much. I know it's overkill, but again, the core essential is katong front-end design and back-end security, katong back-end architectures. Here's an example of what these might look like. Code analysis. Again, it's just a markdown file. Look, it's like a manual. Sometimes you can even get the agent to write these for you. There's even a skill for creating skills. Because there's like there are best practices for writing skills as well. Next, I have my personas. My personas are, I named them because it's me. Cairo is for planning, Sparks is for design, Universal Janitor is for debugging. And for learning, I named it Daru. For people who get it, they will get it. And Daru. So this is for, it's just like different personas. It's like having a junior engineer that has multiple personality disorder. And then for all of those personas, they have guidelines. So yeah, we have token hygiene. Yeah, I don't want to nerd out, but these are just like best practices for agents. Yeah, you just strip it off of your GitHub repositories. Again, top recommendations. If you guys are really interested, take note of this. Spec Kit, Specify, Agent OS, Athena OS, Archon. Those are my top 5. Okay, if you guys care, but like I can just send links later. Okay, does that answer your question, Nick? All right. Anybody else? Any other questions? We good? We good? You can set up na, Gian. You can just like display this. Yeah. So I guess I'll just leave it. I'll answer this real quick. AI can generate code, but it cannot tell you if it's good. This is an age-old dilemma sa software engineering. I've read it in an old book. I forgot when it was, but it said something along the lines of, for every software developer, even seniors, the problem isn't about writing code. It's not even about writing good code, but it's about writing what type of code, like what code to write. And that part, AI cannot replace that part, at least not anytime soon. So yeah, that's my talk, guys. Thank you so much. I leave it up to